Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the beloved and acclaimed novelist John Irving.
Thank you very much. Kurt Vonnegut was the first reader of my first novel. It was set in Vienna before the Anschluss and in post-war Austria during and after the Allied occupation. I was lucky to have Vonnegut for my first reader. He'd been a POW in Dresden. Kurt knew about the Nazis and what happened in Europe after them. I was also lucky to have Joe Fox at Random House for my first editor. As a young writer, if you have a good editor, you develop the confidence to take risks. You know your editor will catch you if you fall. Joe Fox and Random House published my first 3 novels. Then Joe had the insight and the courage to kick me out. With The World According to Karp, my 4th novel, Joe knew he couldn't really rally the rest of Random House behind me. He told me to go to a smaller publisher where a single editor could get the whole house to support me. Joe Fox was a visionary. He even told me which publisher and which editor to take Karp to. Henry Robbins at Dutton was successful with Karp, but Henry died. Should I come back to you in Random House? I asked Joe. Too soon, Joe said. What he meant was the rest of Random House wasn't begging him to have me come back. Joe sent me to Harvey Ginsberg at William Morrow. Harvey was a great editor. Harvey published The Cider House Rules and A Prayer for Owen Meany. Then someone new was hired to run William Morrow. Harvey wasn't crazy about the new boss. Now's the time to go back to Joe at Random House, Harvey told me. Harvey's right, Joe said, but we'll make Random House pay Harvey to be your editor. Harvey knows the way you write now better than I do, Joe Fox told me. He was looking after me even when he wasn't my editor. Joe would publish A Son of the Circus at Random House. That novel had a first reader who got Joe's attention. At the time, this was the longest novel I'd written. Joe made a young editorial assistant read it. This young reader wrote some notes. The notes were written for Joe, not for me, but the notes were so good, Joe wanted me to see them. The notes were amazing. I called Joe, and he spelled it out for me. After I die, and I will, this kid should be your editor, Joe told me. A Son of the Circus was published in 1994. Joe Fox died in 1995. A few years later, this is why I ended up with Jonathan Karp as my editor. I did what Joe Fox told me to do. John Karp is the best editor I've had, and I've had 4 good ones. I'm very happy for John and for Simon & Schuster's centennial, but I'm very glad John Karp isn't 100 years old. Then I'd have to find a 5th editor. Thank you.